Hey everybody, Kim here with Little Biz Resources, and today I want to talk about niches and offers or monetization, which is kind of similar. So I know last week I was going to talk about offers, and in full transparency, I spent like 3 days talking to my doctor, literally back and forth on the phone, waiting for them for both me and my daughter, and then an entire day wasting my time at the doctor's office. So last week was just kind of a bust for me. So I thought we'd start off the week right and talk about niches and offers and monetization. And the reason why we can have to talk about both is because they kind of go hand in hand. You can't really pick a niche, which I don't know, I say niche. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry. But you can't really pick a niche without considering how you're going to monetize it later, right? And we're going to explain this in detail. So I'm going to jump right in instead of giving you guys a whole lot of upfront, but I want to tell you a story about how I got involved with, well, my niche, right? So really my story, and I've talked about this a little bit in the past, I think last week even, is that I remember Hurricane Katrina like really, really well. And it's not the first disaster I ever thought about. You know, when 9/11 happened, I was devastated. And it was the most jarring and disturbing thing that ever happened in my life. And I had no way to help. So I guess that's maybe, and I lived in Nevada. You know, Nevada is really, really far from all, the different areas that were affected during 9/11. Google it if you don't know them all. So when Hurricane Katrina happened, though, I felt like I could have helped if I was in a better situation, right? I was in college. I was in the 8-year plan for my undergraduate degree. So yes, even though Kim with a PhD has better grades now, I did not start out that way. And the reality is I sat there and I did not understand why we as a country had such a tough time responding and helping people, and why, you know, actors had to go out there with their boats and rescue people. I did not understand this. And so that kind of that helped start me on the path of wanting to help people. So after I finished my undergraduate, I said, I sat myself down and said, Self, what do you want to do? Actually, I probably said, Kim, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to help people, which I'd been saying since high school. But this time I was a little bit more specific. And I said, I want to make sure that Hurricane Katrina never happens again. And I'm like, well, who was the primary response agency, which I didn't know because nobody ever talks about FEMA unless you're in that world. And in Nevada, you're not in that world because there's like no disasters. And the disasters that do happen very rarely bring FEMA in. I say that now, hopefully nothing happens because I have family there. This one time I said, oh, I hope there's not an earthquake in Southern California. And then they had one. So we're going to hope that we're going to put out there, world, we don't need any disasters. Okay. So anyway, prior to my voluntary involvement in emergency and disaster response, I had very little experience with disasters, as in my disaster experience was when the power went out at home, I had to choose whether I wanted to eat the ice cream or not. And usually it was eat the ice cream, by the way. So when you have a decision like that, it's really hard to go from that world to, jumping into disasters where people, lose everything and they have nothing. And so I'm not gonna lie to you guys, my background is not one of poverty or extreme challenges or something. I grew up, my mom was, when my parents split when we were little, and I didn't really grow up with my dad, but I grew up with my mom and I still interacted with my dad and saw him every now and again, and had a stepdad that was a total loser, and he was a drunk, and sure, he threw me across the room once, but that was nothing. There's people who get way worse, right? So I'm not going to lie to you guys and be like, oh my gosh, I have such sob story. You need to follow me. What I am going to say is that my story is one of choice. Everything that I've done, I've chosen to do. And so my failures, my successes are all mine. They're all mine. And because of that, I think that I feel like that is something that means that you can make the same choices. Well, obviously your choices are going to be different than mine, but you have the same opportunities to make choices. We all do, no matter what our life is like. And so I'm not going to give you some sob story about how I was poor and broke and lived on the street, because that never happened. Right? I hear all these people saying that. In fact, I heard somebody that was one of the people that is in Be Connected was talking about that. She's like, "Oh, I was poor growing up," and I'm like, "We weren't poor. We were, standard middle class. At least in my eyes. I don't know. We might have been poor, and I just didn't know about it." So anyway, all of my life has been choices. So when I had the opportunity to make a choice, I chose to go into emergency and disaster management because I thought I could help people. And that placed me in the Washoe County Emergency Management Department, where I had a mentor there, the emergency manager, who was amazing and he was very helpful. And we had lots of arguments, which I will always cherish. But I knew we didn't have a lot of disasters there. So it's not like there's going to be room opening up for an assistant emergency manager anytime soon. So I moved on, and I actually went to live in Texas with my dad for about 3 months. And then I moved out on my own because, well, it was time. So I'm in Texas, and I was working for Rockwall County Emergency Management. And I was finishing my master's degree in emergency and disaster management. And at that point, I had done, evacuation. I'd helped with evacuations with wildfires. I had taken phone calls for emergency response. We had, I think mostly wildfires. Now that I say that, I want to say there was a couple other incidents, but for the most part, I just worked in preparedness, help teach classes. So, a whole lot of just fun things there. And then when I moved to Texas, in Rockwall is the smallest county in Texas, by the way. So, you could throw a rock across the county and hit quite a few people while you're doing it, and maybe some cows. And so we were there, and I think we had another wildfire, and we had to help somebody evacuate from there. And so my life, I felt like, yes, I was helping people, but not a lot. In fact, that was the conversation that when I finally got to Rockwall, I had with my boss at the time. And I said, "Look, I think we need to help more people, because we're at this house and there's a fire heading to the house and the people do not want to evacuate." And I'm like, "I don't understand why you would just risk your life because you just don't want to." "Oh, my mother that I'm living with, she's too old to leave the house. She's going to die without her medications." "She's going to die if the fire hits the house." So I just felt like we weren't doing enough at that level because it wasn't at the personal level. So then I shifted gears, and my boss even encouraged me. He's like, "Look, you know what? You're not going anywhere here because your coworker's a little jerk and got you in trouble." So it got him in trouble for too, because technically I was a receptionist and I wasn't only supposed to answer phones. And I knew I had my degree was higher than his, and I had way more experience than him. So he got really mad and threw me under the bus. So by the way, guys, this is another reason why I like entrepreneurship better, is because I hate politics. Well, in the workplace, I kind of like talking about politics in real life, but not with everyone. So don't talk politics with me because I'm very opinionated. So anyway, I went to work for the American Red Cross. And for those of you who do not know, or when you think of the American Red Cross, you think of swimming lessons and first aid. You are correct, at least on the first aid. I have no idea about the swimming lessons anymore. But we also did disaster response. And that was where I was the, I don't even remember my title, disaster response coordinator, maybe? I don't know, something. Anyway, so I worked with the volunteers that volunteer on the disaster side, and we responded to a lot of disasters. And by disaster, for the American Red Cross, it's as far down as an individual who has a house fire. Now, in the community level, that would be considered a personal crisis, not a disaster, because the community doesn't respond. So again, my thoughts of helping people were kind of tested this, because we were limited on what we can do with the American Red Cross. As in, we basically were like, here's a, a debit card for X amount of dollars, depending on the number of people in your household, not depending on your needs or anything else. And your needs were very narrow. It was food, shelter, and clothing for, very limited. So I struggled. You guys, I don't even think I could count the number of responses I've been to. All I know is that at some point around year 2, when I've been there for about 2 years, we were doing an audit to see, how many cases we had done over the last year. And that one year alone, we had over 600 cases. And 600, guys, that was just and that was only part of my jurisdiction. So I had gone to a lot of fires, and by the time I had gone to about my 4th fatality fire, I knew that it wasn't for me anymore and started to think about ways to get out. And then the American Red Cross reorganized and made us an offer and said, look, you can either take the severance and just leave, or you can reapply for a job. They literally just wiped out everybody's job from the CEO down. And they said, okay, reapply for the positions that are open, and we'll select from who applies. And I talked to my husband, because we'd been married for like a year then or something. And I said, you know what? I don't want to do what they want me to do. And I don't feel like I'm helping people anymore. That's what it came down to. I did not feel like I was helping people anymore. I said, when I'm talking to people and they're telling me that they have all of these problems, I talked to somebody who had a house fire, and I remember one man in particular, he was talking to me, and he's just like, he seemed like he was in another planet. And I'm trying to ask him questions, and I'm like, and this is well after the fire, so it's not like he was in shock or anything, but he's like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm like, look, can you talk to your employer? And he's like, I'm not employed. I owned my own company. And I said, what do you mean you owned your own company? You don't have a job? Because all of my companies up until, more recently, I always had a job at the same time, right? It was always my companies were always just kind of on the side. And so he says, no, I employ myself, and I can't do any work because all of my tools and equipment were in the garage and it's burned down. And I was like, how can we help somebody like that? There was the American Red Cross is not equipped to handle the entrepreneurs of the world. And that was not that wasn't the first time I had heard that, and it wasn't definitely the last time. So after I hear that over and over and over again, and then I finally leave because I feel like I'm not helping anybody anymore, I, turned to my husband and I said, well, all these people keep having fires, and I think that maybe if we could get ahead of it and, help prepare them with it, so maybe we could. And he actually, okay, guys, my husband is kind of the greatest. So he knew I had a passion about that, and he worked in the security industry. And so he ended up, I don't remember exactly the chain of events, but he had a job, then he went to another job. Nope, he was still at his first job. Yeah, so I do remember that. He went ahead and got he had self-initiated it, studied for the test, and he got his fire license, which is not easy. It's not easy. And he got his fire license on his own, and we ended up opening our own security company later on. And he knew that I was passionate about it, but we found out really quick that other people are not passionate about preparedness. They do not care about preventing a fire. People literally do not think it will ever happen to them. So it was an uphill battle, and we were juggling, trying to keep the company alive and build it and hire employees and fire employees. And it was kind of an interesting dilemma we had. But at the same time, I, again, did not feel like we were helping people. We were just fighting people for them to pay us pay their bills. And so I got tired of doing that. And I said, look, I feel like I'm not helping people. I'm like, I'm not confident enough to go on and do preparedness on, like I'm doing with you guys here with business stuff. So I'm not confident enough to do preparedness because there's some big guns out there. And by big guns, I mean like, FEMA and the American Red Cross that teach concepts, or even the Small Business Administration. They teach concepts that I don't agree with, and I feel like they are misleading people. When heck, formal education. And when they're all out there teaching preparedness by, oh yeah, okay, here's a business plan and make sure that you do this and you do that. I'm going, that's not what helps people survive. It's not helping people. It's busy work. So I didn't have the guts to come out and say, hey, the government's lying to you. No, I didn't say that. I wouldn't say that anyway. I just think that they're too global in their approach, right? So their approach is for general everybody and not focused on specifically the more micro and home-based business. Now, I will say there are plenty of resources that are out there that are incorrect. They really are. And they don't follow any of the formal education out there that, I mean, there's so much information that is opposite of what they say. So anywho, that's where it kind of led me to, once we were closing down our security company, and I think I still had my security company when I was with you guys, and I was doing e-commerce because it was interesting to me, and it was a way that I could, build the business that I was somewhat interested in. And that was EP Laser. So you guys remember I talk about EP Laser a lot. I started that in 2013 with my dad. And that was after I had left Red Cross. Well, actually, I take it back. We started it had to be 2011 because I wasn't working at Red Cross anymore, and I wasn't pregnant with Cassandra. So I was pregnant with Cassandra in 2012. So 2011 is when we started. We had started it, but I may not have got paperwork and things really rolling for a year or so. But we were doing stuff and dabbling and going out to things back in 2011. So we're coming up on we're like 9 years into this now, and we're actually probably going to shut it down after the end of this year, or we're going to shift significantly. And that brings me to niches. So when you pick a niche, there are some considerations that you need to consider, right? So let me go ahead and pull this little thing up and see if I can get a good size on it. Let's go to 72. This should be good. So first thing is you need to pick a niche that you can talk a lot about. So what can you talk a lot about? Now, for those of you guys that know me for a while, you know that I can talk about anything for a long time with no problems. I have to breathe a lot more now because of my asthma, but before I could go for long times without breaths. And I can literally talk to anybody about anything. We could talk about aliens. I mean, I don't want to talk about aliens, but I could. So it's not just what can you talk a lot about, but what do you like to talk about. So I'm going to say, and like to talk about. Because just because you can talk about anything like I can, doesn't mean you want it. Like, I don't want to talk about politics a lot. I can talk a lot about politics and why I believe what I believe, but that doesn't make it something that I want to do, right? So with that, you might say, okay, well, there's lots of topics that I can talk about and that I like to talk about and I want to talk about. So you're trying to focus on maybe one or two. If they're related, you could do maybe two, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But really you want to focus on like one specific topic to kind of build and get started, because you're going to be because a lot of us don't have the time, right? I mean, I am homeschooling my daughter, though my husband's helping me, so I have more time. I have my Etsy stores and my Amazon store, and I've got, my got little bit resources and half a dozen other things going on. So I'm kind of limited on my time, right? So what am I going to focus on? So, and for me, since I don't have a normal full-time job, I kind of break it up into sections. So if somebody had a full-time job, they may only have like an hour to a day to really focus on building content or doing something. So because of that, I say that, okay, I can still do my e-commerce stuff because my e-commerce stuff takes maybe, 4 or 5 hours a day. And then my, whatever the second thing is, only takes a couple of hours a day. And so I'm like, well, I can still dedicate a couple of hours a day to whatever my main focus is. And that would be Little Biz Resources, right? So actually, I probably spend more time on that than I do other things. But anywho, so what can you talk a lot about? And what do you want to talk a lot about? And then the second thing is, to help narrow down, right? So let's say you have 5 topics you want to talk about. So then you would say which topics take less effort. Sorry, I'm reading my notes. For you, oops, I forgot the 4. For you to talk about. Now, this is an important one. And the reason I say this is because if you guys remember a while, like last year, maybe when I was doing webinars, like I was trying to do webinars every week on a different topic, right? Each topic would take me like hours just to draw up the PowerPoint. And then we'd have like a 2-hour webinar. And that was a little too time consuming. So guess what ended up happening? I got burned out. So before we jump into 3, we will also note that too much effort will either take too long, or, and we'll say or you will burn out. And so that's kind of what happened. I burned out and got sick, and it was kind of difficult. It's hard to keep going when it takes so much time. And if you run out of time, it makes it even harder. So anyway, okay, so next one. So let's say we've narrowed it down a little bit more, and maybe to a couple of topics, and maybe 2. So the third one would be, can you monetize? And you might want to rearrange this, right? So you might want to say, look, I'm just going to start off with, I have 5 topics, and I know only 2 of them can be monetized. And by monetize, I specifically mean, so here's some examples of monetization, right? We can do getting paid for ads. So we can do ads, paid for ads. So like if you're doing YouTube channel, you could run ads. Sorry guys, I'm getting a little tongue tied. Affiliate offers. So can you promote affiliate offers, or can you somehow promote affiliate products, or something affiliate where you make money? And we will talk about affiliate marketing when we talk about offers in just a minute. Then you could do like e-commerce, right? So selling physical products. And then we're going to do digital products. So these are just some examples. There's lots of different ways that you can do monetization, but these are some of the top ways. So getting paid for ads. So for the most part, if you're running content, you can run ads eventually on YouTube, but I should say that there are qualifications. So you have to have a certain number of subscribers before you can turn on monetization. You have to have a certain amount of views in the last year. I mean, there's a lot of restrictions and requirements to get to that point on YouTube. Websites are the same way. You can't just build a website and turn on ads. You have to build a website, drive traffic to it, then you can turn on ads. So if you're relying on ads, it can be a finicky process. And on top of that, to go one step further, you also have the challenge with ads that you need to make sure that you're targeting topics that can generate a good dollar amount per click. So, and we'll dive more into this another time, but an example of this, I did a video a while ago on somebody on YouTube. I don't remember her name. It's not like I followed her or anything. I just saw she normally does like makeup and travel and I don't know, fashion or something. And she doesn't make a whole lot of money when she gets like hundreds of thousands of views. And in fact, she'd get like 1 million views and make like $600. And then this other one, she was like, oh, she did one video and it was like interviewing some CEO, and she made like $1,000 or something on 100,000 views. And she's like, oh, see, all you have to do is this and this. And I'm going, no, you're wrong. And so I did a video that kind of targeted what she was saying and explained why she made more money on that video. And it's specifically because Google charges more for certain topics. And, if somebody's talking about shoes, they're going to be less likely to make money from talking about shoes than they are talking about, how to start your own business, because that's a bigger, or even like how to lose weight. That's probably another big one. And the way you look at that is you go to Google Ads or Google AdWords. I don't know what it's called anymore. So you go to Google and you ask it. So I use keywords everywhere, and we'll talk about it another time. So anyway, so that's something that you have to think about is if you're going to focus on ads, you have to dive into a whole another element of it. And maybe we will talk about that another time. So for those of you who are looking for monetization methods. All right, so another one is affiliate offers. Now we've talked about affiliate marketing in here before, and that's because I do a little bit, I dabble in affiliate marketing. Typically, I will promote things from people that I like and follow, and I skip ones that I either don't know, don't have time to review, or I don't like. And more and more lately, I've been disappointed because typically what I do is I promote the offer as an affiliate, and it's something that I purchase as well. So if you're at 50% affiliate commissions, you're selling something for $1,500, you would get, you sell 2 and you technically would make your money back, but really it's 3 because of all the fees and everything. So if you can't get, and so that's kind of the way I was trying to aim for it is, okay, get a couple of other people to join me. I'll help them out and I'll do it at the same time. And I've been just more and more disappointed with the courses that are coming out and said, I'm not reviewing. I stopped reviewing them because I'm shifting my focus from affiliate marketing to eventually promoting my own products. But that's a whole nother ball game for the most part. Well, sort of. So then there's e-commerce. Now, a lot of people in Little Biz Resources, which of course we used to be Lead Generation Source, and before that we were like K&K something. We all kind of started and got together because of Trex, which is e-commerce with a funnel approach, because funnels are not that common in e-commerce even still. So we kind of all got started in that, and Trex was a nightmare. So it's hard for me to go, oh yeah, e-commerce, here's how you pick a niche, because this is what they told us, oh yeah, just pick a niche and then promote the products. And that's not really, the whole training on that is kind of wrong. And this is why it's like, oh, just, you can go with something, but again, if it's going to take you too much effort, and too much effort to you may be different than it is to me. To me, I don't mind doing a couple of hours to put together a PowerPoint. It was just tough to do every week, especially when I was finishing out my PhD. And then when I got done with my PhD, I did not want to do PowerPoints anymore. So I still do them all the time now. But, it was a lot of effort for me at that point. Now, if you're like, hey, you know what, I am in, what was one of the top big things in Trex was religious items, right? Religious slogans and stuff like that on shirts. So if that's like kind of like your thing and you're like, oh, hey, I'm going to go ahead and monetize with e-commerce by doing print on demand with these themes with, I don't know, Bible quotes or, verses on there. And, however you decide to do that, that could be your e-commerce could be your monetization method, even though your topic is something that you talk about, right? You could be like, oh, hey, I talk about, I'm going to talk about Christianity because that's the religion I want to talk about. And you could say, I'm going to have a channel about that. And then you can just say, hey, support my channel by buying from my shop, right? So that could be your monetization method. Now, another and the more popular now monetization method is digital products. And that's ideally your own digital product. And that's where we really get into offers, is because you can build significant value with digital products. So a lot of these are information courses, like a how-to series. You could do, you can even do checklists and, smaller things like that and charge for it. Heck, I think I paid, I don't know, maybe $50 or something for an SEO checklist. When I got it, 2 of the things on the checklist don't even exist anymore. And I was like, I should have just refunded my money. But the whole point of me getting it was to kind of build enough confidence to build my own digital products. And then I got distracted. So it's still in the works. But digital products are a great way where you can provide that, like an info product or something where you say, hey, opt in for this free checklist, and then they get the checklist. And then your next thing that you offer them is, and this is of course part of a funnel, would be, some sort of course. And then maybe the next one is like, oh, hey, hire me for services or something, right? Coaching does that a lot. So that's where you kind of see where offers and monetization and niches, they kind of all fit together, is because if you pick a topic like underwater basket weaving, there is really very little that you can monetize with underwater basket weaving. Trust me, in my prior examples, and when I've done this in the past with you guys, I've proven this, right? There are almost no ads and no money in underwater basket weaving. There are no affiliate offers for underwater basket weaving. You cannot sell any e-commerce product. Nobody is looking for anything in underwater basket weaving. And of course, your digital product would probably be showing somebody how to do underwater basket weaving, but there is like no demand for it. It's just something we say, and apparently is a big marketing thing where you talk about it and say, this is what's hard. I don't know if it's hard or not. I don't even know if it's really a thing. I think I Googled it once and it said, yeah, it was. But for the most part, it's just something that people talk about. And so it's not, you have to pick a topic that, again, that you want to talk about and that you like talking about. Then you need to pick a topic that is going to take less effort for you to talk about, because again, if you have to spend too much time preparing for it, or it may not get far enough, right? If I hadn't dedicated to, if people hadn't shown up to my webinars when I did them, I don't think I would have kept doing it, because it was a lot of work. It was so much work. So think about, if nobody's going to show up, what would you not mind talking to yourself about on camera or on, like I do, screen share stuff that you could put out in the world and just hope somebody finds? Now, we're not going to hope that people find things because we're going to do marketing, but think about what you would be willing to do and put out there. Oh, lovely. I just restarted my computer a little while ago, so it must have done a scam. All right. So think about those things that, those elements, what can you talk about? What do you like to talk about? And what topics take you less effort, but you can also monetize, because if you can't monetize it, then it's not going to be a business down the road, right? You can talk about stuff all day long. If you want to just build a following of people, just to build a following of people, sure, do it, right? Do it. And you can figure out a way to monetize through fun slogans and e-commerce or something later on. But if you are like, hey, I do have a passion for something, right? So I have a passion for helping entrepreneurs and small business owners start and build online assets, such as income generating websites and automated processes, right? That's kind of my passion. So, I'm so passionate about it that I have no problem talking about it indefinitely for free, right? If I never made a dime off of what I talk about, I'm okay with that, because I feel like if somebody one day listens to me and implements some of the stuff I talk about, then they're more likely going to have success in the future. So to me, I go, okay, I am confident enough to be able to talk about that. But you know what, guys, if you can't, so let's go ahead and move this now, since we've done this. So let's say that you can't, sorry, I'm trying to, there we go. So let's say that you can't, so if you were like, oh, I don't have a topic. So what if I don't have a topic? And I wish I could remember exactly how he explained it. There's actually a couple people who explain this differently, but it's basically where you learn. I guess, I don't know what the next step exactly is called, but you're going to learn something. So you'll learn something and then share the information you learned. Right. So that's kind of like what you do. That's how you start out with. So while I sort of started that way, like when I started really sharing information, I was already certified on Facebook ads. And so the information I was sharing was not just something that I learned about and now I'm going to talk about, right? This is something that I learned about, I tested it, I got perfected it. And then, perfected as far as got certified in it, because can you ever get perfect at Facebook ads? I doubt it. And I don't like Facebook ads, so I don't like teaching it anymore. So but I shared the information, right? So there was an opportunity where we were with Trex, and Trex was completely teaching the wrong information about Facebook ads. And I hopped in and said, oh, I'll help, right? So I help run my own webinars. I don't think they necessarily got mad about it, but they never reached out because they didn't like somebody contradicting their information. And they even said that flat out on one of the webinars. And it's like, look, then don't tell people the wrong thing. That's going to get them in trouble. And oh, look, like half the people that you taught that to got their account shut down. So clearly you don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, but I digress. So you can learn something and then you can share the information you learned. Now I was thinking about this for one of the people in our group because I think he's very smart and I think he knows a lot more about online business stuff than he kind of lets on. And so my thought was, oh, you know what? He speaks another language, right? So if you speak another language, this is something where you can even learn something from me, take it, make it your own, and then put it in your own words and share it in your language, because I do not speak any other languages. So I'm no competition to you in other languages. And I don't mind if you share information. And until you get to the point where you're confident enough to create your own information. Right. So guys, I might come out here and say, all right, I've compiled information from multiple sources, right? I have my PhD, I have multiple online courses that I've gone through, certifications from different places, and I have, actually maybe from the same place, but anyway, and then I have, experience where I've tested things and I've done things and I can bring that information in. But that doesn't, just because I have access to all of that, it doesn't make it easy, right? I still have to stop and think about what I'm going to say. And so I'll usually jot down a few notes. And since I can talk about things forever, that all I need is a few notes and I can talk for like literally 2 hours. So we're going to hope I don't talk for 2 hours this time. And again, I know if for those of you guys who are listening live and you're like, oh, hey, if you're putting any comments in on any of the channels you're watching, I can't see them. I won't be able to see them until after this is aired. So you can put them in and I will get to them when I can see them, and when this is right, as soon as this gets over, I have stuff to do. So it'll probably be even after that. So anyway, all right. So my notes are actually stopped there. So if you don't have a specific topic, you're like, hey, I just really don't know, but you have a topic that you have in mind, I will tell you that stuff about business is very hot. There's a lot of people that are looking for how to succeed online, especially right now. And if you can share information your own way, right? Your own insight is just invaluable to people. And I use this as an example. So when I was in my linguistics class, they gave us we talked about, so in linguistics, we're talking about like language. And we watched this really great video. It was super old. And it would show people from different parts of the country using a word. And that word basically meant the same thing as what everybody else was saying, or like a phrase, like somebody might say, and I can't forget this for the life of me. I can't remember examples. All I remember is that I kept thinking of the chick off The Nanny, the show that was The Nanny. She also played in Beautician and the Beast. Fran Drescher, I think was her name. So, or that could have been her character name. I don't know. Anyway, so she has her accent and the words that she uses. And again, guys, I'm just at a loss. I cannot for the life of me think of the linguistic side of me. I've been shut down for so long. But I remember watching this movie and thinking about that, going, oh yeah, there are people who say like different phrases. Like, so when I first met my husband, because I took this linguistics class, by the way, this is how I knew this. So he said something and he goes, oh yeah, that's wicked, or wicked cool, or something like that. And I went, oh, you must be from the East Coast. Specifically, I think it's the Boston area. And I whatever it was, I pulled it out like really close to where he was. And he's like, how on earth do you know that? Because he doesn't have an accent. And I said, well, you use the word wicked. We don't use that in Nevada or California. And he's like, because California, I grew up with, my family in California and stuff too. So I knew a lot of linguistical things from basically the West. And then of course I had family in Texas and they didn't say it there either. And somehow I had picked up the fact that it was from like that Boston area. And so he's like, there is no way that you knew from one word where I was from. So then we're watching Leverage one. This is Leverage, the first Leverage. Leverage 2 is coming out. I'm very excited about it. But so I'm watching we were watching it was way after it had aired and we were just watching reruns. And there was an episode that came up and there were 2 guys in it that they had interacted with, and they figured out that the two guys had grown up together because they both used the word wicked, and it was from that area in like Boston or something. And so I showed him that, and I'm like, see, it's not made up. Of course, it is a fictional show. So anyway, I said, see, it's a thing. They did their research. They know what they're talking about. And he's like, I just don't believe it. And for a while, I could only pick out certain ones every now and again. So guys, don't be like, oh, what about me? What about me? I can't do it anymore. But when I was younger, I could do it really easy. But, the whole point was, and the example we used in class, by the way, was if somebody says, shut the door, people could interpret it differently, right? So we have a classroom of students, and even though we're all from the same area, literally the teacher could say, hey, I need the door shut, or some version of that, right? And one person might go, oh, they want the door shut because of something. And so it would be, oh, it's too cold, so they may change the thermostat, or somebody may shut the door thinking, okay, well, now I need to shut the windows because it's too noisy, or, so people like kind of interpret things differently. And that actually was a study that a guy did, where it was a while ago too. It was an insurance adjuster that did it, and it was a linguistical study that he did. And he said what happened was it was a workplace, and they would have like chemicals or fuel or something in these tins, and they would empty the tins, and when they were emptied, they would put them over in a section that said empty. And for people who had worked there for a long time, they knew that meant that they were empty as far as there was no more of the content in them, but they were still dirty. So they still had fumes and stuff attached to that. And what the insurance adjuster had been called out there every year or two or whatever, because somebody would light up a cigarette and like end up getting injured. And so he did a study and asked people, what does it mean to you when it's empty? And the people who had worked there for a long period of time had said, oh, that's where the ones that have been emptied go. But not to go over there and smoke because there's still fumes and everything else. So he figured out that linguistically, people who saw the sign empty, in this case, the ones that had learned empty meant one thing versus the new guys, empty meant something different. Right? So think about that. So the information that you learn from me or from any other person out there that you follow, you take that information, you make it yours. You say, look, this is what I've learned. Now I'm going to tell it to you the way I understand it. So when you tell somebody else, hey, this is what empty means to me, right? Empty to me means that still has fumes and don't light up your freaking cigarette. You are now telling somebody something that you've learned from somewhere else, but in your words, and you could be helping them, right? You could be helping them, because guess what? Somebody else could have just told them, hey, that means those are the empty ones go over there. That's all I could have said. Oh yeah, once it's done, the empty ones go over there. So to him, that just means, okay, they're empty. But if you go and you clarify and you tell them how you understand it, you could be metaphorically saving a life. I say metaphorically because we're doing this online. So that's what I mean by you can learn something, you can share the information you learned, and you can make it your own. And you go, oh, there's no value in that. So many people do that. There is value in that. Guys, there's a lot of value in that. I joke about this too, right? My husband and I can literally say the exact same thing to each other, and we both think that the other person is saying something different. So, and I don't know if I shared this one recently or not, but we had these cube shelves that we got, or we were getting. We have now, but at the time we were getting them. And we were trying to figure out how many we needed and how many would fit into the areas we wanted to go to, and blah, blah, blah. And so I said, we need 2 or something. I don't know. I said, oh yeah, it'll hold 8 in them. And he's like, well, you can stack them, right? And I was like, no, you can't stack them. I mean, these are, sorry, IKEA, but you guys got crap stuff, at least in the US. They're made out of manufactured wood. You can't stack them. It'll be too heavy. The bottom one will get crushed. And then the top one, from falling through the bottom one, will get completely destroyed as well. You cannot stack them. No, I mean, you can stack them, is what he says to me. And I went, no, you cannot stack them. So I'm saying you can't stack the two cube storage things, right? So the shelving units, you can't stack the shelving units. And he's saying you can stack the cube or the fabric cubes that we put in the box, the fabric little totes. He's saying you can stack them on top. And I'm thinking he's saying you can stack the units on top. And he thinks I'm saying, no, you can't put the fabric totes on top. So we were literally saying exactly what we thought we were saying, right? So I'm saying you can't stack the units on there. And he's saying you can stack the cubes on, or the fabric totes on there. But because we both left out a word, we each thought that we were saying the opposite, right? So he thought I was saying you can't do what he wanted. I thought he was trying to say I needed to do what couldn't be done. So, and you go, oh, that's just husband and wife are. That's the way we are as humans, right? We hear words, we hear things, and we interpret it the way we interpret them. And, you know, in college, when you get into, at least at the PhD level, I can't remember. I know I talked about it in my undergraduate, and they referenced something called the tabula rasa, which is a blank slate. And the idea behind at the PhD level, at least, is that you need to become a tabula rasa so that you can absorb the information and not bring in the information that's specific to what you need to know, so that you don't bring in your own personal experience or theories that you've heard about or whatever. But the reality is you can't do that. And in fact, there's an entire section of my paper that talks about that. And so while yes, it would be great if we could be a blank slate and absorb information exactly the way that whatever entity wants us to know it, it's just not possible, right? It's just not possible. So each and every single one of us is going to have different experiences, different accents, different little nuances in our lives that have, you know, we've learned to form things differently. So, you know, somebody looks at it, and colors are a good example, right? Somebody may call something pink and somebody else calls it magenta. And I say that from experience as well. Freaking middle school. Ugh. Public school. Blah. Anyway, public school where I was, at least. Blah. So the idea behind this is that you can, if you don't have a topic, but there's a topic you're interested in, you learn about it and you share the information, and you share it in your words and how you understand it. And if you're wrong, who cares? I say, who cares? Don't make stuff up. But if you're wrong, if you're just slightly wrong, like, oh, well, if you say, oh yeah, use Facebook ads, and you forget to mention that you need the business manager to run ads, that's okay. Why? Because first of all, you're offering free information. That's the way free information is. And second of all, you're going to make mistakes along the way. You know, I have literally, we've come back to stuff. Well, first, even if you're not wrong, things are going to change. So you could say it one way and then literally an hour later, it's different. So just take it with a grain of salt and keep learning, keep learning. So that's what you would want to do if you don't have a topic, but there's a topic you're interested in. And again, it shouldn't take you too long, because if you're following somebody that actually has valid information, then you can glean something from it. So here's a good example, right? I'm telling you a story about how linguistically the people are, saying, oh, this is empty. And then the other guys are blowing themselves up because they don't know what empty means. Right. So I tell you that story, you can come up with your own story. So you can tell the same information, but come up with your own story. Right. And so in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, when I talk about more offers here in just a second, we're going to talk about Russell Brunson's story, because I like his story of offers. I think it's a really good story. So I'm not going to change it. I could change it, and you could easily change it as well. Though I do recommend you watch Russell's version, but I'm going to tell you how he talks about offers, because I like the way he tells it. And I think he tells it better than I do. So that's if you don't have a topic. So let's talk about, we've talked about niches, we talked about monetization, and the fact that, you know, we need to be able to pick a niche that can do monetization. Now, an offer, which by the way, an offer is, it doesn't have to be your own product, right? It's you compiling value, right? So now we're gonna just focus on offers. And again, he does much, much, much better at this than me. However, providing value. So the idea behind an offer is just that you are going to exchange, you want to give somebody something in exchange for money, right? So I'm going to give you in exchange for some sort of dollar amount. Now, the person that's giving you that dollar amount feels like they're getting a value for whatever you're giving them. Otherwise, they wouldn't do the exchange. So Russell talks about his iPhone, and this was a few years back that he did this, but he says, okay, I had this iPhone. And at the time, it was probably like, I don't know, $800 or something was the phone. This is, again, a few years back. And he says, okay, I'm going to sell this phone. I'm going to get you guys to want to give me, I don't know, and again, I'm next. So now I am changing it because I cannot remember the exact numbers, but I'm going to get you guys to give me $10,000 for this iPhone. And initially people are like, what? No way. I'm not going to give you $10,000 for an iPhone. And then he says, okay, but it's not just an iPhone, right? It also has, and then he adds in, let's see, we have another right here. So then he says, okay, it's going to have $10,000 worth of training on it, $10,000 of training from that you can't get anymore, right? So that he says all the courses he's ever taken and he's ever purchased over the last 20 years or whatever, he had them converted into audiobooks and put them on the phone. So you now have $10,000 of training from him in audio format that he put on the phone just for the purpose of the phone. Then on top of that, he also has access to experts, like personal phone numbers of people like Tony Robbins, right? So right there, people go, wait, if I could get access to Tony Robbins, because I can get his personal number and contact him. And he may not have been Tony Robbins. He likes Tony Robbins and he works with him now. So I can't remember if Tony Robbins was the name he said, but let's just use it. So Tony Robbins. So how much would you pay me for Tony Robbins' phone number? Right. And so then on top of that, you're also going to get access to him through, I think it's called Voxer, right? Voxer access to Russell. He charges people like $100,000, $50,000 or $100,000 a year to be able to use to message him with this, right? So this is going to be a $50,000 value. And Tony Robbins will just, you know, we want to say priceless, but let's just say that this is a $100,000 value, because you know that if you can get one phone call with Tony Robbins and pitch your idea to him or whatever, that he's obviously going to go for it. And he's going to partner with you and you're going to make gajillions of dollars on it. So you've got $10,000 worth of training. You've got $100,000 value with Tony Robbins' phone numbers, plus other people, right? So we'll say Tony Robbins plus other top dogs. Then you've got the Voxer asset. I think it's Voxer. Anyway, so you've got access to Russell directly through this, where he charges $50,000 or $100,000 a year for his coaching program. So it's a $50,000 value. So he talks about how he was teaching this, or he's talking about this in front of an audience. And he goes, okay, so how many people would give me, you know, $1,000 for the phone? And like everybody raises their hand pretty much. And then he starts going up 5,000, 10,000, you know, whatever. And he gets up to like an absurd amount and he still has like 5 hands up. And so he pulls them up and they're like, well, he's like, so why would you give me whatever the dollar, why would you give me 20 grand for this or whatever? And he says, and in each one of them is like, because I know that the value, especially for me, right? So that's another key. It has to be the value for them is way more than that amount that they're going to pay. If I pay that, I will definitely recoup my money back plus how much ever more, right? Again, all they had to do is connect with Tony Robbins, get him to agree to pitch one of their offers, and now they've got a ton of money coming in, right? So the point behind this is that if you want somebody to give you money, you have to provide value for that. And to provide value, it varies. So a lot of you guys don't see value. I don't know why, but I see value differently, right? I know, and this is why I always invest in courses. Even if I never do much more than make my money back, I still like to invest in courses because I feel that there's a value to them. Though I will say lately, they seem to be getting ridiculously priced, and I feel like the value isn't what it is when they claim they're going to do all this stuff, and then they don't do it, and they go, well, it was still valuable, and it's like, not if you don't do what you say. So yes, I understand that it's not always there, and you have to be a little bit cautious, but each of us will see value differently. So to give an example of this, we'll talk about Be Connected, because this is one where I've shown you guys that there's immense value in this, and yet you feel like $2.99 is not worth it. So, which again, that's something that's perceived to you. So I'm going to go back to, sorry, I'm pushing the button on the screen. I have to wait a second. So Tracy's, oh man, it kicked me out. Let's log back in. All right. So I'm going to go back into Tracy's course as soon as I can. Finish later. I did a bunch of updates on my computer, so it's probably going slow. Also, when I'm using Zoom, it makes it go slow as well. So we're going to go to university. Okay. So I'm going to pull this over here, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. So this is Tracy Repchuk's course in the Be Connected. And she actually talks about creating an irresistible offer. And she has these different topics. So I'm going to tell you guys this. If you could figure out how to create an irresistible offer the buyer begs for, just like it says right here, right? If you could do that and you could sell, so let's say we're going to sell a $97 product, right? And let's say that just by taking her course, all you learned was how to create an irresistible offer and get it in front of people. And then you figured out that, hey, I spent a couple $100 in advertising, but I'm going to make some sales. So let's say that I'm selling it at $97. Let's just say that my after advertising and marketing and blah, blah, blah. Let's say I'm making a 60% profit on that, which, by the way, guys, in digital products, you can make 98%, 97%. It just depends on the processing fees, right? So you can make almost 100% profit on digital products. So it's a good idea to think about digital products as like info products, doing a course or something. So let's say that I'm only going to make $58.20 for everybody who buys, but I'm going to get out in front of people and I'm going to do 100 sales. That's $5,820, right? So in this case, if we could learn from that course how to make an irresistible offer and get it in front of people, I could theoretically, because I say theoretically because I do not know a lot of people that follow through with all of the instructions, but if you follow the instructions and you get to the point where you get it done, you could make over $5,000. So that value is over a $5,000 value. Guys, that's not like an imaginary value, right? I mean, finding 100 people to buy your product shouldn't be that hard. And it shouldn't really be that costly either. But we went ahead and put a higher price on there just to kind of lowball, or make a lowball dollar amount. So if you look at it as what the outcome can be, your value is significantly more. Let's say you get started on that one and you only do 100 sales on your first one, but then you go back, you revisit it again, and now you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing now, and I'm going to do it a second time. Guys, even if you don't make money the first time, let's say that you end up spending $2,000 on ads, you only make a few sales, but you learn along the way, and then you turn around and the third time you put it out, You put out a 197 product, you're at a 70% profit, and you sell it to 1,000 people, right? $137,000. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. You can easily take a course, put in all the information, and still not get it. That's just the way these are. Why? Because we are not tabula rasas. We're not blank slates, right? If somebody says that is empty, each of us may have a different interpretation of empty. So because of that, some people succeed, some people are marginally successful, and some people epically fail in their minds, which I have a whole other rant about failing in the first place. So I want you to understand, I'm not saying that if you take her course, you're going to make $137,000. I'm not saying that at all. You guys, there's no way to predict what amount anybody's going to make on anything. What I am saying, let's see if I can pull this up right, is, no, here we go. Here it is. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted her course thing. There we go. This. What I am saying is that you have the potential to learn how to create an offer. She teaches you how to unlock the social media secret to selling, deliver your online course quickly and easily. So obviously she's teaching you how to do an online course. She's teaching you a digital asset. Turn your knowledge into a $100,000 income stream. That's what this is about, right? So if you could create a $100,000 income stream, would that not be worth the value of her course? And this is where I think you guys get stuck, is that a lot of you feel like if you're paying $3,500 for a course, you're going to get the information to build a $100,000 business. Guys, I paid, and so have others in our group, and all of us got stuck at the same spots. I can almost guarantee it, that we paid for a franchise opportunity. It was $2,500. We literally paid $2,500 to create a $100,000 a year business. And then when we started developing the products, or we started doing the sales and to get the products, there was such a huge delay that we were losing customers. So we couldn't build that $100,000 business. Now, there are some people who did, right? There are some people who worked their sales magic, who had more experience in sales. They took their information they didn't learn from the course that they knew elsewhere and applied it to the information that they did learn from the course to help build their business, right? So that's where each of us is going to have various levels of success because of that. That doesn't mean that everything you buy into, you're going to fail at, because I kid you not, everything that I've done, if I tried even half of what they said, I would succeed. Now, there's a couple of them that I just decided I didn't want to deal with it, and I set it aside. But we've done print on demand, and we had too many challenges with our manufacturers. And right now, print on demand is not the greatest to work with because they're delayed as well. But we know that print on demand is a good model if you take the time and energy to work and build that relationship with whatever company you want to work with. My sister and I said, hey, we've got too many other obligations. We don't want to spend that amount of time. So we stopped it for now. That doesn't mean we're not going to do it later. In fact, we've already been talking about bringing it back in because we anticipate it will start up again as logistics of delivery get sorted out. So, there are things that, choices that we make, like I said, all of my successes and all of my failures are mine. I made choices it could have been based on people influencing me. You know what? I remember back when we were doing our original drop shipping one, back when we did 100K factory, whatever it was. And we did drop shipping from China, and we ran into problems galore, mostly with advertising. And we said, okay, look, we've tested the products. We think the products are good enough at this price point and blah, blah, blah. And we got the sales going. And then we started running into problems because delivery was taking 45 days instead of 30 days. And we were having to give refunds because we had a 30-day refund policy. So we then changed our policy, right? We said, look, it's going to be a 60-day return policy. Why? Because we're having challenges with stuff importing and our warehouses are overseas. So, but then people would still get mad. So those are things that you have to face. Those are challenges you have to face. And so we made a choice at some point. We were using Facebook marketing, and we made a choice and said, look, Facebook marketing is costing too much. We don't like this model anymore. We're having too many challenges importing stuff. It's a problem. Of course, that was years ago. And so we shifted to something else. That doesn't make us a failure at it. That doesn't make us unsuccessful. We made a choice, right? We chose not to continue down that path at that time. I still have all the information I learned. I still know all of the pieces that we did to get to that point, and I could replicate it if I wanted to, with the exception of it would still cost me more in Facebook ads. So the idea behind having to pay $3,500 for a course to get accurate information is just the way some people are. And I get that. And I hope that you can overcome that and look at things like Be Connected as a significant value. That's such a huge value. And when you create your course or your digital product or whatever it is, think about the same thing, right? Think about the same thing. So, EP Laser is actually a good example of providing value, which we kind of did this on accident, right? We stumbled along it, just stumbled right over it. And it was more of an idea I had because I said, well, I wouldn't want to pay $10 or $12 for a single ornament because it's just not worth it to me. And from a business standpoint, we knew that we would have a tougher time finding people that were going to pay $10 for one ornament when we could sell 4 ornaments for the same costs, right? We had costs. So we had costs for fulfillment by Amazon. We had costs for storage at Amazon. We had costs for packaging, etc. When you add all of those costs in, the costs of 4 ornaments were the same as 1 ornament for us to sell. So we could sell 1 ornament or we could sell 4 ornaments. And it was our cost was the same, right? So let's say that I don't remember what it is. It's like, well, I take that back. It's slightly higher with the 4 ornaments because of the percentage for the closing things, but that's later on. So just to be able to sell them, they're equal. We would make more money selling 4 individual ornaments, obviously, but we had a tougher time showing the value of 1 ornament at $10. So instead, we offered 4. And we started at $40, and then we started putting it on sale from there. So our sweet spot was about 4 ornaments for $20 or $25, and we do really well with that particular dollar amount. At least we did until Amazon deemed us non-essential. So anyway, but that's where somebody goes, oh look, somebody else is selling a single ornament. It's not the same designs as ours because ours are our designs for the most part, or we paid people to develop them for us, and we go, okay. Somebody looks at that and says, hey, I can get 1 ornament for $15 or $10, or I can get 4 ornaments for $20. Hey, I like this 4 ornaments for $20 because it's a good value, right? So that's where you are providing value, and that's where an offer comes in. Otherwise, you're just selling products. You're just selling something. If you're just selling something, it's going to be an uphill battle. But if you do an offer and make it feel like somebody feels like they have to buy that, you're going to do a lot better than if you just say, oh, I'm going to do this print on demand t-shirt, and because my costs are this high, that's just the way it's going to be. Right. Another example of an offer, and this was something that I was thinking of, is that in our laser engraving thing, is that my dad wants to sell laser engraved cutting boards. And I said that, and so we did some research and stuff. He said, look, the number one complaint about cutting boards, wood cutting boards specifically, is what we do, is that people don't know how to take care of them. They can't fathom a way to take care of them. So instead of getting, the whatever oil they need or whatever they're supposed to put on it, and getting, a little bit of sandpaper and getting the nicks out and stuff, they just get mad after a couple of years and throw away the board. Now, which is great, because if they buy it again, that's wonderful. But if you can look at that and go, what can I do when I'm selling this cutting board to make the value increased? And something that we came up with was, well, we could get them, a little cloth and a little jar of the oil that they need so that they can refresh it with some instructions, right? That's not something you can walk in to just about anywhere and buy a wood cutting board. Almost none of them have instructions, let alone adding on a cloth and the oil that they need to make it last longer, right? It's more of an heirloom piece then than it is just something that they're buying off a shelf. So when you can create that value, so we can sell the cutting boards at the same price regardless, but if you can put those other items with it, kind of put that all grouped together, now you're providing a much more value in there. So that's kind of what an offer is. And I know we didn't go into a whole lot of details, but I hope the examples help you understand what a true offer is. It's not just selling something. It's providing such value, such, like Tracy says, an irresistible offer the buyer begs for, right? That's an offer. So now you know niche, you understand a little bit better about monetization, and now you understand a little bit better about creating an offer. And the idea is no matter how you monetize initially, so whether it's even if you're an affiliate, you can still provide an offer. And affiliates do this, or the people who are promoting the product initially that you're going to be an affiliate for, they do this naturally. They do something called the value stack. You guys have seen this. They always do it, right? It's not, they did it in Be Connected, where they're like, oh yeah, your value is $26,000. And then they say you can get it all for $299. And you guys go, whoa, okay, something's wrong with that. And that's because there's a disconnect. Generally, you should be about 10%. But I think that might even, if you get too high, like if you're like, oh yeah, this is $100,000 and all you have to do is give me $10,000 for it. I think people say, why? That's $90,000 gap. That's, to them, it's a big red flag, right? And to a lot of us, the value stacks are a big red flag. And yet it excites us and goes, oh my gosh, I don't want to miss out on that. That's the same thing here. And you guys go, oh, well then it's all fake, but it's not always fake, right? So like for me, today only, I am going to offer, my offer is, so I'm going to say today only. See if I can get this right. Okay, so I'm going to say today only. Holy cow, I definitely need to switch to something else. Okay, so today only. This would be 8, I think today is the 31st. Is today the 31st? Yes, it is. 8:31. So you need to do this before midnight Eastern time, 2020, right? When you get Be Connected through my link, of course, because that's the only way it works. So let's go ahead and put this up, 72. When you sign up for Be Connected through my link, I'm going to do this. We're going to do one-on-one consultation for 1 hour, because I do not do these. Why? 1, because I talk too much. 2, because 1 hour will definitely turn into longer. I'm actually going to do 2 of these for you guys. And the reason why is because I've done these with some people and they almost never know what to talk about with me on the first round. So what I'd like to do is like kind of an intro one-on-one consultation where we talk about where you want to go, what you want to do. You know, if you haven't picked a niche, we can talk about that. And then I want to let you build, right? Then I want to let you build. And then we can talk again when you get stuck on something or when you need additional steps. Now, guys, we may do more especially if I like what your topic is. I tend to work one-on-one with a lot of people, especially our early Trex members anyway. So you may not see a lot of value in this. But the other thing we're going to do is for those of you who join today, we're going to do weekly Zoom meetings. It's going to be open Q&A. Right? We'll do open Q&A. Weekly Zoom meetings, open Q&A. This you will only for those who join Be Connected through my link. Now, I say this, and of course, there's other bonuses that I've offered in there, and I know I have the notes here somewhere, but I have a bunch of other notes as well on top of it. So, you know, there's like other courses that I've offered in there, other trainings and stuff, which we will do as well when this gets launched on the, this gets launched on the 1st. So the courses are already there. You can already get in and start the courses. They're not locked out. You can get in, you can start today, you can go as long as you want. Right. So let me also put this on there. So we'll do, go to littlebizresources.com/BEE for B. Okay. So there was a question about the recurring payments. So the cost to get in is, and the one I'm recommending everybody jump into, is the $299 because that gets you access to the courses and everything. Then there is a recurring 49 or 47. Let me check. Hold on, I'll show you guys the pricing in just a second. Possibly. Maybe. All right, so right here is the $299. Then there's a recurring $49. Now, you can waive this $49 a month by simply referring 2 people who join. Then your membership is free for life. So all you've paid then is the $299 to get in. And guys, this isn't like if you pay for 2 months and then you're like, oh, hey, I've paid for 2 months, I can't get it. No, if you have to pay for a month or 2 before you get 2 that you refer over, that's fine, right? You'll go ahead and get that waived as soon as you get 2 people who join. So that, and then if 6 months down the road, you do all the training and you're like, hey, I'm kind of done with this. I've got my business going. I can't do the recurring anymore. You can always cancel. Okay, you can always cancel the recurring, but I don't think you keep your access to the training. So I've said this before. If you do, here, we'll do the math again. If you commit to 1 year, so you have your 1 year, so 12 months at $49, and then you add your $299, you are still paying only $887. And any of those courses are thousands of dollars per course. They wanted to make this a huge benefit for people who join initially and get on. Guys, they have said at some point, probably, I'm guessing not this year, but I don't know. It could be 2 weeks after launch, they decide to jump the price. It just depends on how things go. Launch is literally tomorrow. It's literally tomorrow. So when things get launched and they need more resources or whatever, they could easily jump the price. So I would not wait on this. I would hop in. You can go through the courses and stuff. And if it's not for you and you don't want to do the recurring, you can cancel at that point. Your $299 would stick. You'd still have to pay that. But I would recommend you commit to a year. Say, hey, look, I'm going to do this for the next year. And if I happen to get 2 people, then it's waived and I get access for life. Right? So, and here's the other thing. I will help you get 2 people. Now, this is on a first come, first serve basis. So I already have, a couple people below me. So those people will get priority. But then once they all have 2, I will move on to the next people and help them get 2, and then help the next one get 2, and then the next one get 2. So yeah, I'll help you get 2 people. If I get somebody coming to me and you're next on the line, I'll send them to your link to get signed up if you don't have 2 already. So there's no guarantees, obviously. There's nothing. I'm just saying I will help you. You have access to 2 1-hour consultations. I'm not going to tell you a value on that. Guys, if I were to do a one-on-one consultation with a small business leader, an owner of a small business company here locally, right? And they're like, hey, Kim, I want you to come analyze my systems and talk to me about what I can do to make more money. I would charge them $5,000 and it would be 2 hours, but still. So 2 1-hour consultations, let's say that's a $5,000 value, right? Because that's what I would charge for consultation because I'm that good. Now, normally I'm going to be focused on stuff like, let's take a look at your website. Is it making you money and things like that? So it's going to be a little bit different for you guys. And that's why I don't do these, is because for you guys, you don't see the value of a $2,500 an hour consultation. But other companies that I've worked with, I tell them one tip, they change what they're doing and they make tens of thousands of dollars more. Okay. So, and I guess I don't do that very often. And usually when I do that, it's a favor for somebody because I don't like consultations. I don't have the time for them. I'd rather make more money doing other things. In fact, I make more money doing other things. So I don't do a lot of one-on-one consultations, but I want to help you guys. I want to help people succeed. That's my passion, right? So it's easier for me. I reach more people when I do, webinars and stuff like this where I do lives. I like doing that because I reach more people. right? And that's something that we can talk. If that's something that where you want to learn more about that, we can do that. And I may even do, hey, once I talk to you, I may actually develop a course specifically for you and then share it with people, right? So there's a lot of variation in this. But anyway, this is today only. If you see this and it's September 1st, you can reach out to me and see if I will still honor the, because the weekly Zoom meetings probably won't start this week. It'll probably start next week. So we'll see. But I can tell you that if I get, 5 people that sign up today, I probably won't honor this anymore, because the other thing I'm going to do is, I didn't put this on here yet, but we will add it, is, let's see if I can do this right. To, I guess, referrals. Whoops, if I can spell thing. I'm not spelling right. Referrals to waive your monthly. So that's what I'll help you. Now, I can't promise I'll get you to, right? Because this is new and it could take a little bit of time. So you still need to be able to commit to whatever it is that you're willing to commit to. And if you're, but I'll tell you how I, get you started, right? I'll help get you started. So anyway, if you guys haven't seen Be Connected, my other video on it, there is I have a page that I set up with their official, sorry, I'm trying to make this, with their official video, the official non-Kim version video. And you can, so let's go ahead and highlight this. So you can go here to sign up, right? So you go here to sign up. And if you want more info, we'll say more info is going to be littlebizresources.com/B2B-leads. I think that's it. Let's just double check that. Pull it up before I have a 404 or something like that. Yeah. So that's it right there. And then I'll also give you the link. So you can come here. And if you just go to Little Biz Resources, you can also just click B2B leads and it'll take you to this page. Okay. So I want to get this out to you guys and let you see it before time runs out, but it needs to be before midnight Eastern time. So I'll put midnight Eastern time. That is the deadline for it. And again, I'm pretty sure that we will have enough people underneath at that point that if you sign up, again, reach out to me. We'll see. It just depends on how many people have joined me, because if you're like 15th on the list, it's not as big of a benefit to you, right? I can't promise that. I mean, I'll still be willing to help, but if you're 15th on the list, I want you to know that. So reach out to me if it's after the 31st. If you get in on the 31st, even if you're 15th on the list, I will work my duba off, which is Polish for but. So okay. Anyway, so these are the links you need to know. If you want more info and you want to see their official video, go to littlebizresources.com/B2B-leads or just littlebizresources.com and click B2B leads. And if you're ready to sign up, just go to littlebizresources.com/BEE. All right. And please feel free to reach out. I will have my phone on and not immediately after this. It'll probably be in the afternoon. So let's see, that would be Pacific time. So after about noon Pacific time. So that's 1 p.m. my time. Then I'll be available for questions. Hit me up on Messenger to my personal page. Hop into the Facebook group, Little Biz Resources Facebook group. Okay, you can hop in there and ask questions as well. I'll check that too. And again, comment below and hopefully I'll see the notification soon. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you. And again, I wanted to let you know that this is today only, and you will learn how to build an offer. We'll learn how to do all of that stuff. We'll do live Q&A for those of you who are working through different trainings. And I really like this. So this is kind of I'm going to keep talking about this because I think it's a great resource and a great opportunity for everybody in our group. Whether you're in e-commerce, there's an e-commerce course. Everybody else should be taking the other courses. And if nothing else, the connection generator is for everyone. So again, reach out with questions, and I hope you enjoyed the topics of selecting a niche, monetization, and how to create an offer. So please let me know what you think, because